Thank you very much for coming to this, the first lecture in the Manhattan Forum series by the St. Anthony of Padua Institute, co-sponsored by our good Bishop Salvatore Corleone, Bishop of Oakland, for whose patronage in this affair we are very grateful. This will be the first in a series of 10 lectures, stretching from this month through to the month of August, culminating in a regional conference. The site is still under negotiation, but we're hoping to use the cathedral. Culminating in a regional conference on the Manhattan Declaration. May I ask how many of you may be familiar with the Manhattan Declaration? Oh, good. Well, I'll be very brief about it. The Manhattan Declaration is a declaration by a consortium of Roman Catholics, Orthodox, and Evangelicals, called a Declaration of Christian Conscience. And it's a confrontation with the culture's present tendency to run us believers off the public square. You can find it on the web, if you've not already done so, at www.all lowercase, all run together, manhattandeclaration.org. We have, thanks to the help of our good bishop, already one speaker for the conference in September. And that will be our former bishop, now the Archbishop of Detroit, the Most Reverend Alan Vigneron, who will speak to us on why Catholics must now take a countercultural stand. We also hope to have the author of the article we are discussing this afternoon, Professor Robert George of Princeton University here. And we have other guests under invitation, whom I think will surprise and we hope delight believers in the Bay Area. The next lecture in this series will be in February. Is it the 13th? Yeah, February the 13th. The president of the Dominican School of Philosophy and Theology, Father Michael Sweeney, OP, will speak on the common good and the laity in this same venue. A third lecture is scheduled already for March, where our friend and colleague Ernest S. Perucci will talk about the legal landscape surrounding marriage and life issues. So, what am I about today? I'd like to read with you a part of the article, What Marriage Is and What It Isn't, by Professor Robert George, which appeared in the journal First Things in the August-September issue of 2009. I thought about talking about it because it's in two ways a kind of paradigm, a kind of model. It's a model, I think, for the sort of reasoned confrontation with the culture that we, Christians, evangelicals, Orthodox Catholics, need to be gearing ourselves up to live. I think it's the peculiar, I'll propose to you, that it's the peculiar witness that we're being called upon in this day and time to give. And secondly, it's a challenging piece. It's a very challenging piece. So it's worth thinking about, and worth thinking about together. So without further ado, I'll launch into this. The Manhattan, you will have one of these sheets on two sides. I'm going to begin with it. I'm going to read the declaration, and you follow along and see how Professor George's article lines up with this central paragraph from the Manhattan Declaration on marriage. As you may know, the Declaration takes up three issues. Life issues, that is, the protection of the sacredness of human life from conception to natural death, marriage, and the rights of conscience in the public square. Those three things are front and center for the Declaration. We're looking at one of them, marriage. So the Manhattan Declaration reads, under marriage, in its 6th paragraph, we further acknowledge that there are sincere people who disagree with us and with the teaching of the Bible and the Christian tradition on questions of sexual morality and the nature of marriage. Some who enter into same-sex and polyamorous relationships no doubt regard their unions as truly marital. They fail to understand, however, that marriage is made possible by the sexual complementarity of man and woman, and that the comprehensive multi-level sharing of life that marriage is includes bodily unity of the sort that unites husband and wife biologically as a reproductive unit. This is because the body is no mere extrinsic instrument of the human person, but truly part of the personal reality of the human being. Human beings are not merely centers of consciousness or emotion, or minds or spirits inhabiting non-personal bodies. The human person is a dynamic unity of body, mind, and spirit. Marriage is what one man and one woman establish when, forsaking all others and pledging lifelong commitment, they found marriage. Has nothing to do with what you just witnessed. Marriage is what one man and one woman establish when, forsaking all others and pledging lifelong commitment, they found a sharing of life at every level of being: the biological, the emotional, the dispositional, the rational, the spiritual, on a commitment that is sealed, completed, and actualized by loving sexual intercourse in which the spouses become one flesh, not in some merely metaphorical sense, but by fulfilling together the behavioral conditions for procreation. The first part, roughly the first 12 paragraphs of Professor George's article, What Marriage Is and What It Isn't, elaborates the substance of this central paragraph from the Declaration. It declares, more fully and more circumstantially, what follows for the marriage concept from the distinction, common to the article and the Declaration, between two competing notions of the human person. The notion, on the one hand, that human beings are personal minds, spirits, or souls, making use of sub-personal bodies. And the opposed notion that human beings are bodily persons, each, in Professor George's language, a dynamic unity of body, mind, and spirit. If Professor George is correct, philosophical anthropology is the Schwerpunkt, the unyielding meeting place, the point of contact between opposed estimations of what the good of marriage is or can be for the traditionally minded and for those who seek to disestablish traditional marriage. But as Professor George proposes to declare what marriage is and what it isn't, we should recognize that he is in pursuit of one of the two forms that a traditionally minded statement on marriage might take. Such a statement might either engage in argument with the energumen. That's a $20 word. I'm going to use it. An energumen is from the Greek. It means someone possessed. Possessed by an idea, possessed by a vision, or possessed by a spirit of negation. Worked on from within, relentless, willing to move others. Okay? So I'm using that word precisely to refer to our opponents in this business about marriage, and our opponents in this business about life, and our opponents in this business about where religion belongs with respect to the public square. Okay? Now you can take it to mean possessed by an idea, fired by an idea, or possessed by the spirit of negation. That will be as it is. I mean, that will be as each individual case would show us.